We'll just go through the structure as I see it at the moment. As I say, you can contribute to it, you can shape it. It's an open experiment, this course, starting now, really. Okay. Well, what I was going to do to start off was talk about the negative inspiration for the course. I was going to play you 3 things, but I'll have to talk these through because the sound isn't working for a reason I can't understand. Fisher plays Apple's 1984 Super Bowl commercial, in which a woman wearing colourful sportswear, chased by security guards in riot gear, hurls a sledgehammer into a giant screen, before which sits an army of expressionless grey drones, reminiscent of an address by Big Brother in George Orwell's 1984. At the end, the advert declares, "On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. This is the first one. Anyone recognize this? Anyone seen this before? General murmuring. Yeah, it features in the Steve Jobs film, doesn't it? Has anyone encountered it before that? Yeah? Where have you seen it? Student number 1. Well, I haven't seen the Steve Jobs film. MF. Oh, you haven't seen the Steve Jobs film? Student number 1. But I think someone posted it on Facebook, I guess. I don't have a context here. I just know that it's an Apple Super Bowl commercial. MF. Yeah, it's definitely worth watching later with the sound. As I say, I can't fix the sound at the moment. The image itself tells the story here. I often polemically say, this is the most influential film from the last 35 years. It was made by... Anyone know who directed that? Student number 2. Ridley Scott. MF. Yeah, so Ridley Scott directed it, and you can tell, can't you? You can tell from the style it's very similar to films that he had recently made. He had redefined mainstream Hollywood cinematic science fiction via Alien and Blade Runner. From 79 and 82, I think, so this was 2 years after that. It's really the best film he's made since then, I think. Probably the only significant film he's made since then. What this did, really, was seed the idea of many of the tropes that are now, I think, standard in our imagining. The idea of top-down, bureaucratic control systems versus the dynamism of a kind of networked, individual mindset. And what is clever, I think, or certainly significant, all advertising, you could say, is a form of dream work. Dream work, as Freud says, involves conflation and a compressing, a condensing of different ideas together. All this does, if you look at the imagery, is it condenses Cold War imagery, which none of you are really old enough to actually remember, except historically, I think. Cold War imagery associated with the Soviet Union in particular. Negative imagery to do with dreariness, bureaucratic submission of individuals. If you look at the film, these grey drones trudge around being subjected to the ultimately top-down commands coming from the talking head, clearly referencing 1984 of Orwell. The Orwell estate wasn't too happy about the ad, but that's another story, we'll leave that aside. But it conflates that imagery that has long been associated with the Soviet bloc with imagery to do with big computer corporations, such as IBM, which then dominated the computer world. Apple is positioning itself as an upstart, as colour intervening into this grey, dreary, bureaucratic world. Apple is new. It's female, interestingly. It's colour intervening in this grey world of bureaucratic monoliths, where IBM becomes, in the advertising dreamwork, equated with the Soviet Union. This, then, is the new world that is about to break out of this monolithic, dreary, grey, boring control system. And that's what happened. In a certain way, it was prophetic. It was more than prophetic. You could say it was hyperstitional. It helped to bring about the very thing which it was describing.